Hi everybody, this is Final Theory, and this is my submission for the C3, the Winter C3 Festival. Okay, so what exactly is my submission? Well, basically what this is I'm calling it a cool effect, but really it's an optical illusion that is created by taking two layers, okay, and the underlying layer is a special image that actually has a bunch of animation frames within it, but it's a static image. And then you take another layer, which is usually a transparency sheet, and you basically glide the transparency over the underlying layer, and you create an optical illusion of animation. So if you think about it, it's a pretty cool effect. Now, I've seen this effect being carried out by basically paper and a plastic transparency sheet, okay? But I have not, to my knowledge, seen it in an actual video game. And the motivation for doing this was that I was thinking about some of the older consoles, okay? Like the Atari 2600, the original 8-bit Nintendo. I was thinking about these consoles, and I was thinking to myself, and I said, what if you could get like a full screen of animation just by taking one layer and sliding it over another layer? Because those older consoles can't really do, a full screen of animation, right? But if you just did a clever background and did a transparency layer and slid them over each other, you might be able to create some very cool effects that otherwise just that the console itself couldn't even do. So that's where I got this idea from. Also, this would be really cool for like a level transition, and you could do this on any console basically. So like let's say you beat one level, and then you had like a little level transition. You could do like a short little 10-second transition of like some cool little animation thing, just like what you're looking at right now. So the basic idea is that you take an animated GIF, right? Like that's what I did. You take some type of animation that already exists. I found these gears on the internet, and it originally had 40 frames in it, and the number of frames I was looking for was 8. So it ended up working out. So I took every 5th frame and kept it and deleted everything else. And so I have 8 frames of animation. And the way this actually works is those gel bars, basically those are like, that's a tile that's just a 16 by 16, tile, okay? But it has a little 2-pixel slit in it, vertical slit. So the way this works is if you take the total distance of the black vertical line and the transparent line, the total distance is 16, okay? If you divide the total distance by the transparency, 16 divided by 2, you get 8. 8 is the number of frames you can produce, okay? And what's really interesting is that the underlying layer, it has all of the animation frames within it. And what's interesting is when you create these, because I had to create mine, I had to create the background image here because I couldn't find one. I couldn't find any of these in pixelated form, okay? But how do I say this? Basically what you're doing is you're cycling through, when you create this, you take all of the animation frames that you're interested in, and you basically move the gel bars a distance of 2 in this case. You move them a distance of 2, and the black lines basically represent data that's being deleted from the animation frame, and the white basically vertical bars is the information that you keep. And so basically what you're doing is you run through all of the frames of animation that you want to use to make this, and you're deleting most of the information that exists in that frame. But then what you're doing is you're adding by moving the black bars over and then going to the next frame and deleting information. and then you move it over, you go to the next frame and you delete information. What ends up happening is you're deleting information, but you're adding in information, because basically you're taking a little sliver of every little frame that exists and putting them in sequential order. So that's the basic idea behind this illusion. It's pretty cool. I would really be interested to see what some older consoles do something like this, and of course, this animation, or this illusion of an animation, could play better than this. But I just picked that castle level that just has layer 2 going back and forth. So basically, I used layer 1 for the underlying layer, and then I used layer 2 for the gel bars, and I just set the priority on. I set it as a higher priority for the gel bar layer, and it ended up working out very nicely. But you could make this more fluid if the whole thing didn't go back and forth and just continued in one direction forever, which shouldn't be that hard to do. But anyway, it's a cool effect. You can basically get full screen animation for the cost of just taking one layer and sliding it over another layer. This is also similar to there's a certain property, there's a certain name for it, I'll have to look it up, but it's when you take like polarizing lenses and you mix them and you put them at weird angles and stuff. You get all these really interesting patterns and stuff out of that. And it's anyway. So basically, also I don't know if I said this or not, but this usually works for animations where the whole object is black, or I should just say a single color, because the trick to making this work is that the gel bars, the black gel bars, it's filling in the missing information, and your brain puts it all together. Okay, but as soon as you start color coding these things different colors, then the animation it starts to fall apart. So it only works for basically solid color objects. But anyway, I think it turned out pretty good. So anyway, thanks for watching.